Ez az egyik régi kérdés már. Az utolállók is ezt kérdezték, hogy pénzt vagy életet? Vagy életfedezetű pénzkibocsátást? Ugye ez egy újabb lehetőség, ugyanis egyre több gond van a Nemzeti Bankunkkal. Ugye a Nemzeti Bank az továbbra is a levegőből kibocsájtott pénzekkel bűvészkedik, és hát most pillanatnyilag éppen az inflációt nem tudja megállítani. Tehát igazából az a kérdés, hogy lehetne érsznél nemesebb fedezetű valutát kibocsájtani.
The umbilical cord is made up of 3 key structures: the body stalk, the vitelline duct, and the allantois. There's also a normal process called physiological umbilical herniation, where the intestines briefly go into the umbilical cord as well. The vitelline duct regresses completely, but in some cases will leave behind a Meckel's diverticulum. The end of the allantois nearest the umbilical cord turns into the median umbilical ligament, and the umbilical vein becomes the round ligament of the liver, while the 2 umbilical arteries become the medial ligaments. The fetus is connected to the placenta via the umbilical cord, which is a long, flexible stalk that has 2 small arteries and a large vein. Deoxygenated fetal blood flows through the umbilical arteries to the placenta, where it picks up oxygen and glucose while dropping off carbon dioxide. Oxygenated blood then heads back towards the fetus's heart through the umbilical vein. When the baby's born, the umbilical cord's no longer needed, so it's cut off, leaving the navel, better known as the belly button.
Cord blood is the blood that is left in the placenta and the cord after a baby is born. We have at the moment over 60,000 cord blood units collected since many years now. We developed the concept of a public cord blood bank. In a private bank, the bank is a for-profit organization and you have to pay the bank to do this for you. In a public bank, it's a public health concern. There is no financial contribution by the donor. The temperature of the cartons in which the blood is brought to the laboratories must be maintained. The time that it takes to go from the delivery moment and the collection to the time in which the blood is stored is also a very critical factor. Blood has to be, of course, sterile. There should be no bacteria or contaminants in the blood. All the steps of processing are done in clean labs, spaces in which the air is cleaned by filtration, is controlled, the number of particles is controlled, and the people who work in them have to observe precautions. If the potency is not correct, so the unit has suffered, has not been frozen correctly, or something has gone wrong somewhere in the procedures, that unit may not work as well once it is given to the patient, even if it is not contaminated. It may fail to work, and in that case you will have a patient who will either need a new transplant or will die. All the care that is spent in making it as safe as possible is necessary because the difference is life or death.
Egész más alapokra kellene helyezni a pénzkibocsátást. Ugye sokan gondolkodtak arról, hogy például a helyi teljesítményt azt úgy lehetne mérni, hogy helyi pénzben számolunk el. Tehát a pénznek az egyik legfontosabb feladata az elszámolás. Tehát, hogy ugye a világ nagy része dollárban számol el mindent. Tehát az olaj hordonkénti árától kezdve, amitől függünk, az égvilágon mindent dollárban számolnak el. Mit szeretnénk mi is? Hát a pénzkibocsátás jogát megkapni, amit pillanatnyilag most a Fed birtokol világviszonylatban, és hát ugye ebből rengeteg háború következhet, rengeteg olyan pénzügyi manipuláció, amit jobb lenne megszabadulni, és hát valójában nekünk meg egy másfajta nemzeti bankra lenne szükségünk, amely nem a dollárhoz igazítja mindenkori árfolyamát. Mi lehetne ez az alap, amivel mi teljesen innovatív módon elkezdhetnénk pénzt kibocsátani?
Human leukocyte antigen typing is a blood test or a cheek swab test performed in order to identify the most suitable donor for a patient needing an allogeneic blood or marrow transplant. An antigen is a protein on the surface of the white blood cells, also called leukocytes. HLA proteins are on almost all cells of your body. These proteins play a very important role in your immune system. You inherit half of your HLA genes from your mom and half from your dad. The HLA antigens are crucial in choosing a donor for a person needing a stem cell or marrow transplant. Two groups of HLA antigens are important to type in: class 1 antigens and class 2 antigens. HLA is complicated in that there are thousands of HLA markers, so it is much harder to find the stem cell match as compared to, for example, a red blood cell match, where there are so few red blood cell types, like A, B, and O. A total of 12 antigens will be evaluated for a possible match with your child. A perfect HLA match means that all of the donor HLA antigen types are identical to the recipients. This is important because it minimizes the risk of graft versus host disease and graft rejection. This will be most likely within the immediate family, as there is a 1 in 4 chance that a sibling can be an identical match. There is also a 1 in 2 chance that a sibling will be a half match. Parents are always at least a half match to their children, since, as mentioned before, a child receives half of their HLA genes from each parent.
Found on the surface of cells in your body. They play an important role in your immune system, and they are also important for organ transplants. HLAs are a group of genes that code for proteins that are found on the surface of cells in your body. These proteins are called human leukocyte antigens, or HLAs in short. HLAs are important for your immune system because they help your body to recognize and fight off foreign invaders such as bacteria and viruses. HLAs work by presenting foreign antigens to T cells. T cells are a type of white blood cells that play an important role in your immune system. When a T cell encounters a foreign antigen, it will bind to the HLA molecule that is presenting the antigen. This binding will trigger the T cell to become activated and to start producing antibodies or other immune cells that will help to fight off the infection. When you receive an organ transplant, your body will see the donor cells as foreign invaders. This can lead to an immune response that will attack the transplanted organ and eventually lead to its rejection. In order to prevent this, it is important to match the HLAs of the donor and the recipient as closely as possible. There are a number of diseases that are associated with HLAs. Some of these diseases include rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, type 1 diabetes, celiac disease, systemic lupus erythematosus, Graves' disease, and Addison's disease. HLAs can be tested through a blood test. This test is usually done before an organ transplant to make sure that the HLAs of the donor and the recipient match as closely as possible. HLA testing can be done to determine a person's risk for developing certain diseases. HLAs are important proteins that play a role in your immune system. They are also important for organ transplants. If you're thinking about getting an organ transplant, it is important to talk to your doctor about your HLA type.